welcome back to a bonus episode of the Kit and Krysta podcast, where we're going to tell an extra special story time that we wanted to get in before the Game Awards.
Yeah, this is a bonus story time about something that happened 10 years ago, and it is kind of, time sensitive.
It is.
It's related to the Game Awards. It's related to Geoff Keighley, our friend. So we had to tell it now in this little bonus episode that we're doing here. But this is about VGX, which... I don't know how many people remember this, know this, watched it in the moment.
Yeah.
But this was kind of the 1 year bridge event between the Spike TV Video Game Awards and Geoff Keighley's The Game Awards.
Right.
And it had a lot of differences from the traditions of the Spike TV Video Game Awards.
Right.
Those had been running for many times. Those were on broadcast TV.
That's right.
On Spike TV, which is a part of Viacom, this huge media company.
Yeah.
With Geoff being very closely involved in putting those together from a production standpoint. They would have celebrities, hosted by celebrities, celebrity appearances, big musical guests. It was this really over-the-top presentation, which was positioned as this celebration of games for gamers, but it always felt like it was for just a few layers beyond that.
Right. It got Hollywood.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what you call that, but it's it got to a point where, was it really for the video game audience, or did it become this big sort of Hollywood kind of celebrity thing that video gamers don't actually care about?
Yeah, I think the feeling was they were trying to, people had a cynical view of what Viacom was trying to do, of we're going to reach out to the Maxim magazine crowd who, have kind of maybe a bit of a broader interest, but we're going to draw them in by making this an extremely mainstream show. So those award shows always had a very iffy reputation, but I think a lot due to Geoff's relationships in the industry.
Yeah.
They did pull a lot of action from people within the industry. He got announcements, he got people there. We did a big thing with Mr. Miyamoto where he got this Lifetime Achievement Award that was a big deal for us. So within the industry, they did have still some air of legitimacy.
Yeah.
So
and then that ended.
Right, so we get to 2013, and I think all of us at Nintendo were like, well, it's going to be another year of the Spike TV Video Game Awards, and that'll be cool. But we started to hear, no, we're going to do something different this year. Viacom and Spike are still going to be leading this, but it's going to have a completely different format. First and foremost, it is going to be streamed only.
This is the first time.
No broadcast TV element.
Yeah.
Which today you would say, oh, of course.
No problem. Yeah.
Who even watches broadcast TV?
But back in 2013, it was a huge problem.
It was, the signal that they were sending back then was, this doesn't matter.
Right. This is not important anymore
and
to be on broadcast.
Right. And maybe
television.
we're this is our one foot out the door step of we're not really going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
We kind of want out of this whole deal. And this was the last thing that they did. So I think that kind of thinking was accurate. But there was some interesting things they were doing. This was where Geoff really started to emphasize, hey, watch it on your PlayStation or watch it on Steam. He was really angling for a lot of those relationships to try to broaden the audience of watching it on the device, which was something you couldn't really do before. And there had just been, these next generation hardware launches, so that was very fresh in everybody's mind. Couldn't stream it on a Wii U, though.
No.
Wasn't possible. Was not possible.
Whoops.
Right. And, once we get into the event itself, we would definitely recognize, this is an extremely stripped down production based on the over-the-top excess of the Spike TV Video Game Awards. And this was news to us. We pondered what this might mean, but again, we had a great relationship with Geoff, and we knew that we still wanted to support this show somehow. We knew that he would, find a way to make it noteworthy and newsworthy. And we had supported, like I said, the Spike TV Video Game Awards for years and years and years. So this was not a new way of thinking for us. So we started to think about, what is the reveal for his, the world exclusive.
Right.
Like what could we offer? This was the height of the Wii U doldrums, though.
That's true. Yeah.
So
we did have some games starting to come to Wii U that were like pretty okay, though.
Yeah.
Like we had announced some stuff for Wii U.
Sure.
Starting to be okay, but it was definitely a little dicey.
We had also at this point started to do Nintendo Direct, which meant we had more ways than ever to share news. So there was a bit more competition for where does news go?
Yeah, does
if
it
we
go
have
into
news?
a Direct, or do we give it to something like this for Geoff, right?
So frankly, this was hard for us to even find something.
Right.
But we finally did settle on this idea of revealing Cranky Kong as a playable character in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which was going to be coming out the following February. This event happened in December of 2013. So we're getting into the home stretch of this game, and we're thinking this can be a really cool surprise.
Right.
And a nice bit of fan service for Donkey Kong fans to be this exciting thing. And it's not going to be a new game announcement. Maybe it's not on the same level of some of the things that we'd revealed before, but this will still be cool. And we can supplement this with some live gameplay, really show off the character and build it into this extended thing. That was something that Geoff was looking for with this was, let's not just have a trailer, like let's show the game off in sort of a longer setting, or let's have a developer there and have a conversation. The show ended up being over 3 hours long, extremely long.
Geoff loves the long shows, though.
He does. So we settled on that. We pitched to Geoff. He was into it. He thought it was cool. So it was like, all right, well, we're all set on that. So we start to work on the reveal. We do have some exciting things going on with this. We had planned for a couple people from Retro Studios to come. We were going to have the game's creative director there to be on stage with Reggie.
Yeah.
We were going to get a couple other people from Retro to come and do the gameplay. So it's like we're getting the best possible gameplay from Retro themselves.
Right.
To show this off in this great way. So, we're feeling pretty good about this as we get, past Thanksgiving and into December. But then disaster strikes.
Tragic.
Because Cranky Kong leaks.
Of course it leaked out of
Europe. I believe it was Amazon, Italy.
Oh, Italy.
Italia. And
not super surprising, but not great.
Not great at all. Like I said, it was very close to the game's release date. So that's when things like box art start to get out there. I think that's actually what it was in this case. It was like they had posted the front and back box art, which showed very clearly there's Cranky Kong right there.
Right.
So this was not good. I was not on the receiving end of the communications from Geoff, but from what I heard, he was big mad, like furious. And he is normally a pretty easygoing guy.
He is.
Very even-keeled, very reasonable, and that's something that we really appreciate about him. But in this case, he was livid about this. And I think that gave a window into his mindset of this show.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. It must have been because there was some pressure on his side to make this into something in this very transitional year. It's a different thing now. It was such a hugely different format before, so he must have been feeling some kind of pressure.
Exactly. There was just something that was not right about the way that this show was coming together that was leading to him being cranky himself.
Ironically, also cranky.
So, we did what we could. We tried to do damage control. At that point,
it's too late.
It's like, well, let's try and make the most of this. We'll still have the demo. We'll still have these guys from Retro.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not going to be 100% news, but like, what do you want? You want us to not come?
The only other option is to not do it.
Right.
You were still going to have like Reggie and all those Retro developers there.
Yeah,
like,
there was still
there's
cool
like
things.
a lot of, at the time, what we perceived as like Nintendo support, which is always an important thing to Geoff.
Right.
So I think that, I don't know how much you can smooth it over at this point. It's just what it is.
Exactly. So, we continue planning. Like I said, so that leak happened on December 2nd.
Oops.
And the event was on December 7th. Oops. So we were really like days to go.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do, really.
From this to happen. So it's like, it is what it is. We keep doing the work and the planning on our side. And again, we had a really big group going down to LA to do this. So I went, a lot of other people from the PR team went. I was the PR lead for Donkey Kong Country.
That's right, yeah.
And I had become kind of this PR person for retro overall,
right?
Which was a role I really liked.
Yeah.
They were they are
awesome
so great to work with.
Yeah.
Such nice people.
Yeah.
Really kind of curious about like the work that we did and wanted to learn and really had just
really
a genuine
open mindset too.
Yeah, just a genuine curiosity about that, which was refreshing and nice. So, like I said, huge group, like 10 plus people going down.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're gonna go make the most of this. The day before, when most of us were there, we get this other bit of news, which is about the host for the show, which up to that point we had understood was just going to be Geoff.
Geoff, yeah.
And we have the tweet right here from Geoff himself. Excited to announce your host for VGX, Joel McHale, and I'll be joining him as co-host. See you guys tomorrow at VGXLive.com.
The day before, 11:43 a.m. on December 6th.
Right, the day before.
When this tweet was sent out.
Right.
Which is crazy.
So, a bit of context there. With Spike TV Video Game Awards, it was not unusual for the host to be announced a bit late. And Sam Jackson had been the host for many Spike TV Video Game Awards.
Yes, I remember that.
But in this case, everybody thought it's just going to be Geoff hosting this and Geoff will do a great job. For Joel McHale to arrive on the scene at the last second, again, it was like, what's happening here? This seems troubled.
It's a very uneasy place, I think, because from a video game brand perspective, you never want a host that just doesn't understand the games industry or understand games. Joel McHale is a comedian, basically.
Right.
So it's kind of worrying. What's this guy gonna do? Is he gonna be a loose cannon and make all sorts of inappropriate jokes or whatever?
Wow, it's like what was gonna happen.
But that's the feeling, I think, when when this kind of stuff gets announced.
Yeah.
And it's late in the game, so again, you don't have any at 11:43.
Yeah, here it is, 11:43 a.m. on
yeah.
December 6th. We have the tweet right in front of us.
Yeah, at that point, you don't have any other choice but to move forward with
right.
this. You're just painted into this corner.
So what we were all what's going on here? We were discussing this, and what we thought was, Viacom was feeling nervous about where things were headed with this. Obviously, it's a new format. Geoff, to that point, had been a bit more behind the scenes with the Spike, so they were probably just we need something to put this a little bit over the top and, to kind of rely back on their old ways of a celebrity will get eyeballs.
Exactly.
So who can we get at the last second? And Joel McHale raised his hand and said, I'm available, I guess.
Forced to do it.
And Joel McHale, he does know a little bit about games.
Yeah.
He is not completely in the dark about it, but as we would find out, I think he envisioned himself as being there for other reasons, or maybe he was told that. I don't know.
I don't know. It just later on when you guys should all go watch. This is available for you to watch as well.
Right.
Go watch some of these parts because it's just a bizarre pairing between Joel and Geoff, and just talking about video games overall in that setting was really strange.
So I don't think they ever had a chance to rehearse. I don't
think they
had ever met each other before
that's
until
that's what it looked like, at least.
Roll the cameras.
Yeah.
So a very strange and slightly concerning thing for us as the Nintendo team to see. But again, it's we're going to be ready with our part.
And the rest of it is out your circle of control.
We have Reggie, who is the best public speaker I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he's going to be able to roll with anything.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll roll with it.
And these retro guys have the game. They're going to play this great game, which looks great. We're not too worried. So, go to bed feeling good, wake up the next morning. This was kind of an early, the event was on a Saturday, December 7th. Kind of early afternoon. I think it started at maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, which is kind of a weird time for something like this. So I got up a little bit early because we had some things to do. Look out the window, it's pouring rain. I'm like,
In Los Angeles, which is pretty rare.
So, that's unusual, but it shouldn't be a big deal because, as Nintendo would, we have car service taking us from the door to the hotel to the door of the venue. We were stopping for lunch along the way. It was like, you can just run right in. No big deal. It's like Reggie cannot be walking down the street.
No,
ever. We've seen that. We've seen that.
He will get mobbed.
He gets mobbed, and it's not a good scene. So it's like, well, it's raining, whatever. I get a phone call shortly after I wake up from someone who says, did you see it's raining? I said, yes, I'm aware that it's raining.
Your boss at the time.
And they said, well, that's not going to work. I need you to go pick up umbrellas for the group.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. We have about 12 to 15 people here. It's a Saturday morning in downtown Los Angeles. And in 2013. We need to go in about an hour. Yeah, no problem. I can get you 12 umbrellas.
Oh
sure, why not? So this is one of those things where I just have to shake my head. I just start walking down the street. I'm like, well, where I know, like, well, there's a mall.
Yeah. Downtown LA at that time in 2013 is a little dicey.
Right. So I knew there was like a mall if I walked maybe like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were in the hotel where we always stayed for E3. So I kind of knew a little bit of my surroundings.
Your bearings, yeah.
But I checked and it's like, well, they don't open actually because it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday,
They don't open until a little bit later. They're not open. So it's like, I really need to figure something out here. So I walk in the other, I find that there's like a convenience store.
Okay,
somewhere.
That's a good idea.
And I come up to that and I go in there and they had maybe like an umbrella.
One.
Yes, and it's like, well, this is not gonna work. People are not gonna be happy.
If the only you just share.
Yeah, if you ask for a box full of umbrellas and I have one.
Right.
We can't do that. So I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And I walk out and I see a guy on the street corner. Selling umbrellas.
Oh wow!
Like happens. Like this guy just showed up out of nowhere. It's like, oh, it's raining. I'm here. And I'm kind of like looking at him out of the corner of my eye, and I'm counting the umbrellas.
How many did he have?
I'm like 2, 4, 6, 8. It's like he has enough. He has enough umbrellas, but he's doing good business on the side of the street. I notice. I'm not sure that this person speaks English.
Oh.
So this is going to be a great test for my high school level Spanish. So.
Did you have cash?
I always have cash, and this is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons why these umbrellas.
You need an emergency umbrella.
These umbrellas were also fairly cheap because they were junk.
I was gonna say he might have. I was wondering if he would upcharge because of the rain and people needed it.
He was a very honest fellow. These umbrellas, like I said, they were junk and they cost about $4 a piece.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I was going to buy 12 of them.
Yeah.
So. How much is that? Do some math for me right there. Oh, no. It's $48.
$48.
I had that on me.
You did?
Of course.
You have $48 on you.
I did then.
Do you have $40 on you now?
I don't know. Don't shake me down on a podcast.
Open your wallet.
I put it down. I don't have it.
You don't have your wallet.
You see the moth fly out right on this podcast? Are you joking me? So I walk up to the guy. Put on my happiest face, and I say, yo necesito 12 paraguas, which means I need 12 umbrellas in Spanish.
Wow.
He said he got it right away. He didn't have a bag. I kind of had to like, juggle these things back to the hotel. But I got them.
Wow.
I got the 12 umbrellas.
This is the thing about these kinds of events when you go with a big contingent of Nintendo execs and developers is you never know what kind of weird stuff they're going to make you buy. In your case, 12 umbrellas.
Right.
12
paraguas.
Paraguas.
Yes.
Sorry to anyone that speaks Spanish for us butchering Spanish.
It's like when you were at the Game Awards and Mr. Aonuma said, I need you to make me a pocket square.
Yes. Or take me to the nearest Target so I can buy candy.
These ridiculous requests almost ended us, but...
Yeah, but you got the umbrellas.
I'm there. It's time to go. Everybody's meeting in the lobby. I hand an umbrella to everybody. Everybody looks a little confused of like, the rain's like letting up now. It's like I think we're gonna be okay.
Oh no.
The punchline to this is nobody ever opened one of those umbrellas.
Did they give it back to you?
No.
Okay, they took them.
I mean, I had one for myself, but
You still have
yeah,
it?
I mean, they probably got left in the back of the bus or whatever. But all that work was absolutely for naught.
nothing,
People are like,
yeah.
it's not even raining that hard. What's the big deal? Thanks.
Is your boss freaked out? He is prone to freaking out about weird stuff. Prone to be deep cleansing breath.
We all have dozens of stories like this.
Prone to have like a fixation on something that
Yes, a fixation is
a
a
little
good-
bit strange, and that morning's fixation was about getting the umbrellas. I don't know why.
It's a good way
but
to
great.
put it.
Anyways,
Okay, so we're in the bus. Like I said, it's kind of like still morning at this point. We're gonna go eat before we go
Right.
to the thing.
good.
We're off at some nice restaurant, and we're sitting with Reggie, and we're talking about him, getting ready. And he says, everybody come around, I want to show you something.
That's kind of creepy.
Oh,
and weird.
no? Okay, yeah, what is it, Reggie? He's like, I want to show you the pin that I'm going to be wearing today on VGX.
The pin becomes a real contentious thing.
Speaking of other obsessions.
Yeah, but this becomes like a thing for like 10 plus years. But I guess maybe
Well, it
this
still is. I mean, Reggie has a Reggie pin that somebody
I
made
know,
him.
but I'm saying that like this becomes like this thing that
Right.
just it becomes like urban legend almost. Anyways,
Right,
he
so
has a pin.
So he says, "Let me show you this pin," and he opens up this box, and it's this 8-bit retro Samus pin,
Yes.
and we're all just like, "Oh."
Face palm.
We have Retro Studios here. We're here to talk about Donkey Kong. It's clear Reggie has come with intentions to troll,
Right. He wants to troll.
and he obviously knows what happened with this. He obviously has been informed that Geoff is grumpy.
Yeah.
And I think his point of view of this was,
I don't care.
We can troll back. We can,
Clap back?
we can have a little, we can have a bit of levity about this and see how it goes.
Oh my goodness.
And there was a lot of like, oh, but he's gonna think this or he's gonna do this. What's gonna happen?
He's gonna ask you about
and
it.
his reaction was like, I don't give a good you know what about Jeff's gonna say or do about it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna wear the pin, I don't care.
Let's let it fly and see what happens. So he came ready to rumble. Which, as we'll
Good
see,
attitude.
was the right attitude to have. This is where it's great to yes. Thank God we have Reggie here.
Reggie is, he won't back down.
He will handle
He'll
himself.
handle the
He will not
challenge.
back down.
Yeah.
He will spar with Geoff.
Yeah, they'll go 2 for 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And these poor Retro Studios guys, like, keep them out of the crossfire.
Well, that person definitely, again, we'll get to it, but that poor person.
So it's like, okay, this is already going off the rails and we haven't started, whatever. We get to the venue, all of us, and it's immediately clear, like, this is kind of on the cheap. Like, this is kind of like a warehouse that's in downtown LA. It's full of like bric-a-brac. It kind of looks like an old like antique shop.
It does, like when you see the video of it, it has
Right.
like all these like random like paintings on the wall. Like it definitely doesn't look
Right.
high end.
It's
or
very
anything
small.
Like that.
We're like the people who are not on camera. They're like, you just stand in the corner.
Oh.
So we did. There's no audience there at all.
Right,
It's just
Film crew.
the people there.
Yeah.
It could have helped. Maybe help some of these jokes land a little bit better if
yeah,
there was
because you're like pin drop silence,
Right.
crickets with this film crew.
some sort of a laugh track or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you need some sort of like you need some energy in
Whatever.
some of these things, right?
So the Nintendo segment was pretty early in this 3-hour event.
Thank goodness.
So we get there, and Reggie and the retro guys are pretty much getting ready right away. And I actually go help the retro guys get the game set up in the back.
Right.
Because that's always a complicated and
It's very
scary thing.
complicated.
It's like, well, do you have the hookups or what? Or like, oh, we
Yeah.
can't get a picture out of this. What do we need to do?
Exactly.
Right. That
the
was
tech
always
is always
that was
little
always a
scary.
hairy detail. But we get it all set up, and I go back into the little watching room with everybody else. And the show starts, and there is just immediate tension between Geoff and Joel McHale. Like, Joel McHale is making off-prompter jokes, off-color jokes.
Really?
Like, really dicey stuff.
Really dicey
Right.
stuff.
And, like, the look...
Not Nintendo friendly.
The look on Jeff's face is like, he's not even trying to hide it. It's like...
He was already grumpy, I think, from overall just having to deal with this thing. And then he was just like livid
Right.
from having to deal with Joel.
Right. So he had 3 hours. He had 3 hours of that ahead of him. But like you said, like this is online. This is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like they have just like the opening of this show also. Like
Yeah.
that's worth. Everybody should
Everyone
go
should go
and watch that
it.
because it's like I cannot believe
And
what I am watching transpire right here.
And the thing with it is that like we are so used to Geoff being like, and he tried to, as I think as much as possible, like as like a very
Usually very smooth,
smooth
yes.
host.
Right.
And you can't, like, even when crazy stuff happened at the TGAs, like when he got stormed on stage by random people,
right.
Legit scary stuff,
Right.
like he
can roll with
never
it.
lets that facade fall.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But this was the only time I think I've seen his expression, like truly,
He was over it.
truly just like he had no more patience
Right.
for this.
He was over it.
I was really shocked, honestly, because I don't think about Geoff like that.
No,
You know? And
no.
he isn't like that.
No.
So I was like,
And
wow.
again, you wonder what happened
Before.
in the moments and days leading up to this event to get him to
Exactly.
that point. In addition to Joel McHale, I think there was just a lot of nonsense that he had
think that's what it
to
is.
deal with and put up with
Yeah.
from the corporate overlords to get to this point.
Right, so he was over it.
So, and like we're in the back, we're like, you can't believe this? Oh my God. And it's like, oh God, Reggie's gonna go on in like 5 minutes.
Reggie, again, thank God for Reggie, because Reggie can handle anything, but also not great.
But there's like nothing we can do too.
Yeah.
Also hilarious because Geoff Keighley's wearing like 5 jackets.
He is layered.
Which
Very layered.
Joel McHale immediately points out. He's wearing like a leather jacket and like,
a hoodie.
a jacket under that, a hoodie, and like
a
some
shirt,
like button-up shirt. It's great. We were in Los Angeles. It's not that cold.
I know. Again, Geoff also just looks so different too. Like,
who was in charge of the VGX wardrobe this day?
His like TGA suits are so beautifully tailored. And
Yeah.
He looks so fantastic.
He's got it figured out now.
He's figured it out. But this was just like such a weird thing to see after we're used to like the Geoff of today. You know? Gosh, it's so bizarre.
The Nintendo segments there. It's Geoff, Joel, Reggie, and this guy Vince Jolly, who was the creative director for the game.
Yeah.
And immediately, Geoff starts jabbing about the leak.
Oops.
He's like, oh, Reggie, are you a little bit cranky that something may have leaked? And he starts making hints of like, oh, fans online might not be happy that this is all you have for us today.
Right.
Which, again, is very uncharacteristic for him, who's, trying to make these games, trying to make it come off as cool and good.
Yeah.
And sort of, help the medium.
And also he values his relationship with Nintendo.
Right, but in
Reggie.
this case, again, I think he was just so over it. He's like, I don't care, I'm just going for it. And so that's how this segment started, with him and Reggie having these jabs, and in the middle was poor Vince Jolly,
who looks.
It was like one of those gifs of like life comes at you fast, because he was just like,
And it was funny because like it was like Reggie, Vince, Joel, and Geoff. So Reggie and Geoff were like the furthest apart from each other, but they were the only two people talking.
Yeah.
Joel and Vince, like Joel was just like out of it. Like he's like, I don't care about this. This is stupid. Like, I'm not here for this.
And then he starts making these, like, well, how are the Seahawks going to do, Reggie?
Yeah.
These offhand,
because he didn't have anything to contribute.
Non sequiturs,
I think, to the conversation.
Right.
And then Vince just was, like, silent.
He looked
with, like, deer in headlights.
He looked terrified. He was also dressed like he was going to Sunday church or something, which makes it all the more funny. Wearing the red Donkey Kong tie.
I know, and like a full suit, like very corporate. Not 14 jackets like Geoff.
Yeah,
but it was very like professional.
Very
looking.
funny.
I felt bad for him. He was definitely caught in the crossfire.
But they do, we get the initial awkwardness out of the way. Everybody gets introduced. Vince can introduce himself as well. And we finally get to the gameplay, thank goodness. Take a little break. And that's kind of like the most normal thing of this segment. They show the game. The game looks good.
Yeah.
Tropical Freeze is a excellent game.
Yes.
So it's like nice to finally have a chance to cut through this nonsense and just show that.
And Reggie does say stuff like, "We have more stuff. We got Smash coming for
Reggie was
really trying.
He was trying real hard to sell the Wii U.
He did a good job.
Right.
He really had very little to work with, and he did a really good job.
Yeah. So that ends, and then there's just more trolling, like. Geoff's talking to it's like, oh, Reggie, are you going to get in Smash Brothers? How many votes in the ballot is that going to take for you to get in Smash Brothers?
My gosh, yeah.
And then Joel McHale's like, so are you going to kick Sony and Microsoft's butt? Like,
He didn't say butt.
we prepare for tough interviews as spokespeople at Nintendo,
right?
With somebody who puts on like the evil hat and asks you nonstop hard questions,
right?
Almost 99% of the time, that's never the reality.
But this was the
reality. This was the reality of that,
yeah.
of like a nightmare interview where you're just getting like needled with questions.
And it was the worst thing because it wasn't even like an interview that was like written only, like print or something like that.
Right, so it's live.
It's live.
Live streamed.
So you
to literally
basically-
dozens of people.
You 10 to 12.
Yes.
But if you say something, if you lose it, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, which Reggie would never. But if you did,
Probably almost did. Jeff sees the pin. He starts bugging him about the pin. When are we getting Metroid news? When are we getting this? Hey, Vince Jolly, how many teams are at Retro Studios right now?
Oh.
That could have been such a dangerous and scary moment for them. Like,
poor Vince.
Vince knew better than to
he knew
touch
better.
that one. Thank goodness.
He just laughed it off, but still, oh my
The segment
gosh.
wraps by going through this awful segment of like, and we've got some Reggie memes from the internet. Like this
Yeah.
is so like late night show.
This is so like 2013 though,
I
when
know.
Reggie started to get like
Right.
real internet famous for all of his little catchphrases and
Right.
stuff.
And so they go through a couple of those, like, oh, my body's ready, stuff we already know. And,
Yeah.
and then Jeff asks him, so like, what would Cranky Kong Reggie look like? And Reggie says, like, well, if I was Cranky Kong Reggie, I'd have that stick in my hand and I'd knock you over the head with it, Jeff. And that's how the segment ended.
They laugh it off, and then yeah. But basically, Reggie wanted to beat Jeff with a big stick.
Yeah. So they come back to the little waiting area that we're in, and everybody's just like, oh my God.
Shell-shocked.
Can't believe that happened. I think Reggie loved it though. I think like he really enjoys like that kind of thing. Verbal sparring.
Verbal sparring.
Right.
He loves that.
He loves that.
He
loves
loved
that
it
stuff.
in just regular meetings
Right.
too. He wants you to fight him.
challenge him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he liked having an opportunity
think
to do that versus just like another boring interview.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that he sees Jeff as like a worthy opponent to verbally spar with him.
Right.
So he truly did. He had fun with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And to be clear, like he and Geoff Keighley are very tight, very
Oh
close.
my gosh, yeah, they're like really
Like
good.
he is
good
on,
friends.
he's still goes to the Game Awards every year, presents stuff. So
Yeah.
it's not like there was
Jeff
actual.
did like a whole thing in the end of Reggie's book and everything too.
Yeah,
so they're
it's
like really close.
It's not like there's any actual like bad blood. It was just like
No, not
the
at all.
wrong time,
But
wrong
as, like,
side of the bed
I think
situation.
as the PR team, though, it's always just a little bit scary because you just
Yeah.
never know. Like whatever Reggie says, whatever it happens, it's gonna become like some story, you know?
Right,
So it's like-
especially with Vince from Retro there too, who
Yeah.
was there to do a very specific job,
Right.
but was caught in the crossfire.
Exactly, and he doesn't have like that kind of experience
Right.
doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like he's a developer, you know?
Right.
So
The event continues for 3 more hours. The big.
did you guys stay for 3 hours?
Yeah, we stayed and watched the event.
Oh my God.
The event and kind of the legacy of that event as far as announcements was where No Man's Sky first got announced.
Okay.
And that was like kind of a mind-blowing announcement for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Famously, the launch of that game did not live up to the promise of what
Right.
that initial announcement said.
Right.
And
right.
it took them years and years to get to that point and exceed that. But that was, I think, everybody's enduring memory of the show, besides it being a train wreck, was like, oh yeah, No Man's Sky got announced there and that looked really cool. And that definitely had people talking. So the event's 3 hours long. It closes with this very strange outdoor concert of music from Grand Theft Auto 5, which
Okay.
is
Oh.
10 years old.
This year.
We're coming full circle, maybe.
Full circle.
And, we leave and the event ends. And I remember I was back at the hotel that night hanging out at, there was a great hotel bar at that hotel
Oh, yes.
where many a late E3 night was had
Yes,
by people from
of
Nintendo. And we were hanging out and just chatting. And they were like, yeah, that was nuts. That was crazy stuff. Anyhow, the game's coming out really soon. So for us at Retro, we're really starting to look ahead. And the guys that were there, they're like, yeah, we're actually going to Japan really soon to kind of talk about some future concepts and opportunities.
Yeah.
So I don't know what those concepts and opportunities was. Like Retro's shipped maybe like half a game since then, 10 years later.
Metroid Prime 4 was the future opportunity 10 years ago?
Metroid Prime remake and some work on, I guess, like at that point, the Mario Kart 7 work had happened. So I don't know what those were, but
What were the future
that
opportunities?
was I don't know. That was kind of their mindset of like, yeah, we're wrapping this up. We're gonna start, turning our focus to something else.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was it? I don't know.
know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
The show was hugely criticized and panned.
Yeah.
As it should have been. It was a mess. But it was this interesting bridge piece
I was going to say, yeah.
between the VGAs and Geoff Keighley's The Game Awards.
Right.
which did have these some forward-looking elements that
Yeah.
were a little bit ahead of their time. You know, being stream only,
yeah.
having it on the device, looking for ways, whether it's through an extended demo or they did have a lot of developers like sit on a couch and like, we're going to talk to you for 10 minutes.
Right.
Finding ways to let the game speak for themselves
Yeah.
more than just explosions
Yes.
and celebrities. So there were some kernels of ideas that I think, you know, and at this point, you know, Geoff said, see you later to Viacom.
Right.
That as he started next year's Game Awards, I think he had some building blocks to work with.
I think so. And then this focus on like reveals and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was always important to him. And I think letting that be more of like why you would tune in versus it being random celebrity hosts.
Yeah.
Like that becomes sort of the foundation of the Game Awards later on. And of course, once he got like full control of that, he was able to do what he wanted and make that vision not muddled with some corporate Hollywood nonsense, which is great for him.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what do they say? Like, this thing walked so this other thing could fly, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's what it was.
Yeah, so here we are 10 years later. It was extremely strange to be a part of in the moment. And now 10 years later, I went back and watched pretty much the whole event leading up to this so I could get my memories straight. And in hindsight, it is even
weirder.
crazier and weirder than I remembered it being, which is a rare thing to have happen.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we have a chance to sit down and share these stories
I
and
know.
think about it one more time.
It is very odd. You guys, again, I'm going to say it again. You guys should all just go and watch some of the pieces of this because you won't believe what you'll see. Because I definitely remember at the time it feeling weird, and now it's like, oh wow, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
That's so nuts. Yeah. So that was it's a 10-year anniversary.
There you go, yeah.
Of this insane 1-year only event. Who knows what this year's TGAs, the Game Awards, will bring? What crazy moments? There's always some crazy moment. But yeah, to see how this kind of award show type thing has evolved over time is really interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this little bonus Nintendo story time. We are getting ready for the TGAs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, more of that and more end of the year, game of the year stuff to come. But thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.